Welcome back. It's time now to talk about the situation of golf in Pakistan. We'll mainly be focusing on the Asian Tour and the fact that it's making a comeback after 11 years. So to discuss this, I've been joined by Mr. Hamza Amin, who's a professional golfer. Hamza, assalamu alaikum. Great to see you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hamza, before we talk about the Asian Tour, tell us a little bit about yourself. You've been a professional for quite a while now in a sport that's not the most popular in Pakistan, especially amongst our age group. I think it's safe to say that. Why were you drawn towards this path? Why golf?
Well, why golf? It runs in the family. My dad's a champion, past champion, and I've been playing for a good 20 years now. Turned professional 6 years ago. Former national champion in the amateur league. Took the plunge in 2012 to turn professional and haven't looked back since.
Right. Now, golf in Pakistan, like I said, probably not the most popular sport, not a lot of money in there as well, but one will hope that will slowly change. So talk to us about that. What needs to be changed, and have there been any improvements in the last 6 years, would you say?
Well, there have been a lot of improvements. The tour has grown a lot. I'd say from about 12, 13 events, we're at about 25 events for the year. So there's always something going on. The prize money has increased. Previously, the whole prize fund for one tournament used to be maybe 1 million rupees for a decently sized one, and now that's increased to about 5 million, 6 million per event. So obviously that always helps growing a game. It increases the interest among the juniors to turn professional. So it has grown a lot. And plus last year we had an international event in Lahore.
Yeah.
And this year, obviously, the Asian Tour is coming, so that's a big deal for Pakistan golf.
And in terms of sponsorship, getting money into this sport, what sort of recommendations would you make? What needs to happen?
Well, there needs to be a lot of, corporate, some kind of
corporate entities, enterprises getting involved.
Yeah, there needs to be some kind of corporate interest, I would say, in the players and in growing the game. So. I've signed with a sports agency back in Karachi, Magnus Sports, and the CEO, Ashraf Kaleem, he's got this vision about the Olympics 2020, and he's included me in the Magnus squad. So that's a big deal for me, and it would be nice to see more agencies in Pakistan try and grow the different sports with the 2020 Olympics in mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about your Asian golfers playing at the highest level at the Olympics, PGA tours, and many say, like golfers like you, there are many talented golfers in Pakistan, and they deserve the opportunity to showcase their skills on a larger platform.
Yeah, I think golf is growing, and the fact that it's part of the Olympics now is a big deal for all of us striving to be there. And as for the other sports, a lot of money needs to be pumped in so that we can get there.
Tell us about the Asian Tour. Why is this so big for Pakistan? The fact that it's taking place after 11 years and it's going to be played in Karachi.
In Karachi, yeah.
Talk to us about it.
You don't see many international events, irrespective of golf. You don't see many international events taking place in Pakistan. So it's a big deal for us. And the prize fund is very high, it's $300,000 for the event. That's by far the highest in the country by a long shot. And it gives our Pakistani golfers an opportunity to test themselves against the other Asian players, from Japan, from Asia Pacific region, New Zealand, Australia, China, Hong Kong. So it'll be a good test.
So, and again, it also improves your ranking points. You get certain ranking points, I understand.
Yeah, this event will have world ranking points. Yeah. Our local tour doesn't have world ranking points. It has national ranking points, but this one will have world ranking points, and it'll give us an opportunity to climb the ladder.
So in general, the Asian Tour first, you were telling me that first you're going to go to China, and then of course it's going to be in Pakistan, and then other parts of the world. That's how it works?
That's how it works, yeah. So the tour is made up of usually about 20, 25 events, different cities, different countries. So if you qualify, you have the eligibility to play all of them. And this year I'll be playing a few of them, starting in Thailand, I think in June. But for now, I'll be focusing on China. I qualified for the China Tour this year, so that starts early May.
You said you've been professional for 6 years, and I remember actually when you first started, I'm sure you started playing here, of course, but then when you went abroad and you saw other golfers, the level that they were at, I mean, were you in shock? Did you expect them to be that good? And then did you slowly realize or quickly realize that, okay, you know what, this is something that I have to work very, very hard at? Because obviously in Pakistan, you don't have the same kind of facilities that you do elsewhere.
Yeah, well, you don't have the same kind of facilities and you don't have the same kind of competition.
Right.
So when you go abroad and you put yourself out there against the best players in Asia, this is a whole another level. It's a different test of your golf. But at the moment, our tour is growing in such a way that winning out here is already very difficult. So if you can win out here, you can compete at the international stage. So that's good to see.
Right, of course. And I'm sure you've learned more. In any sportsman's career, even though you're still at the nascent stages, you've been through difficult times. Like you said, when you left Pakistan and started playing all over the world, you must have had some reality checks there. But now that you've qualified for the China Tour and you're seeing more and more success, I think it's safe to say that you've learned a lot from your failures as well.
Oh, that's well put. I like the way you put that. I think it's not only in golf. You always learn from your mistake. You always learn from your failures. And then at some point, everything comes together and you just have to work hard and trust what you're doing and be disciplined and practice hard and do everything you have to do in order to make it so that at some point in your career it all comes together.
You mentioned discipline. I mean, as a professional, of course, I mean, you have to train extremely hard. Tell us a little bit about that, your training regime, when a big tournament's coming up, how much more you have to practice, your diet.
Well, the thing is that I don't really practice more if there's a bigger event around the corner. My practice is pretty much the same, whether if it's a small event in Pakistan or it's the Korean Open on the Asian Tour. My practice remains the same. My routine stays the same.
Tell us about your routine.
Well, it depends. Are you on the road or not? Like, I've been on the road for 7 weeks now, so it's straight.
7 weeks?
7 weeks straight. So
you're probably permanently jet lagged then.
Yeah, jet lagged and living out of a suitcase.
Yeah.
So there's obviously not a gym everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So you can't always train. You have to do that in the off season, a lot of that. And you don't put a lot of hours on the practice range because you're playing so much that you just play your practice rounds and then, start the tournament and, hotel to hotel.
What about diet? I mean, tell us about that. I'm sure you can't indulge the way you'd probably want to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I stay away from sugar as much as I can.
Yeah.
But, it depends which country you're in. Sometimes the food, you like it. Sometimes, you have to eat it. You have no choice. So, nothing too specific,
Back to the popularity of the sport. I think, again, even a show like ours, we're more cricket-centric than anything else. It's rare that we do. I mean, I'm sure you were listening to our first segment. We were talking about boxing and now golf.
Yeah.
But most shows in Pakistan focus on cricket, and I think that's part of the problem here. I think it's important for you guys to be highlighted as much as possible, because if you get the recognition that you deserve and the applause that, of course, you deserve, you'll start playing better when you know that you get the recognition.
That is true. If you play better, then these corporate, all these companies, they start seeing you and they start seeing how you're performing, and they're like, you know what? Why don't we send this guy abroad to this tournament and let's put a team together? So yeah, it would be nice to get more recognition, but it's difficult to make golf popular. It's all a process, and it'll happen over years.
No, but I'm sure you were well aware of that. But again, you had this at a very young age, because it was in your father played golf. He was a champion. My father also used to play golf. Used to tell me that your father was one of the best players he ever saw. So of course you naturally gravitated towards that. But did you ever think that you'd reach this level? I'm sure you have some goals, which will be my final question. But did you ever think, Hamza Amin, that you'd get this far, that you'd be a professional Pakistani golfer at such a young age?
You know what? Not really. It was I had gone to the States once, and to visit my uncle, and he said, there's a coach over here who you should work with. And so to cut a long story short, we did some practice together, and he said, Hamza, you have what it takes to.
You've got the swing.
You got the swing. You got the ingredients. Let's do it. So after meeting him, my journey began. And there are a lot of things in life you can't control, and things happen. And there I was. I suddenly turned professional. I was there in Thailand, teeing it up at my first event, and it's been a fun road since.
Final question, Hamza, your goals. Where do you want to be in the next 5 years?
Well, the goal is always to win on the PGA Tour or on the European Tour. So that hasn't changed. I'd love to play the Olympics in 2020 and play full-time on the European or PGA Tour.
Keep working hard, Hamza. You're doing very well. Best of luck to you.
Thanks, Ali.
Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks.
That's all you have time for. Keep watching Sports Extra on PTV World. See you next time. Bye-bye.